Now, ancient knowledge has been gifted to humanity, and this ancient knowledge was in recent years and in recent centuries rejected. And what ancient knowledge I'm talking about? None other than the Gnostic serpent. I mean, we, in America, and in most other countries, it's hard to find someone that even knows how to translate hieroglyphs or paintings or Aztecan stuff. And humanity has been oppressed for a long period of time. And people have been oppressed for a long time, but originally the ancient ways were subjugated. A lot of temples were purged. Like the Greek ones were purged, and all the priests of the Greek religion were assassinated and killed. And now we are in today's society, and people are starting to spiritually awaken. And the news and what was popular and what was easy use for manipulation said that 2012 was the end of the world. No, in fact, 2012 was the end of abysmal slavery, mental slavery and physical, and the new golden age of dawn, basically. And the ancient serpent originally represented the gift of knowledge before religion rewrote the story. And this gifted knowledge was handed down to top priests and high officials in the ancient ways. And through the rise of patriarchy, religious patriarchy, with priests and saints and all of that, they intentionally removed the Shakti, the feminine goddess. And originally the goddess was above the male. But nowadays, they have purged entire temples and made entire cities for these temples to remove the idea that woman came first, that the woman gave birth, and rewrote the story as to a woman came from man and rib. And this is a long and complicated process, because mankind is awakening themselves, and feminine figures are becoming more important in today's age. So there's that. Now, let's talk about this. The Kundalini. I want to go back to the Kundalini for this. But the ancient Egyptians and the ancients all knew that in order to regain immortality, they believed sex was the answer. They legitimately believed that sex magic was real, and they stimulated their sex to activate their Kundalini to the heart chakra. And the ancient Egyptians actually knew that this created godhood, ascended man into godhood, and created immortality. The ancient Egyptians knew this, but a lot of other people must have. But ancient Egyptians knew this first. Or the most importantly, they knew this. Because the ankh, the thing that they would wear around their neck, actually represented the heart chakra. And it was through the heart chakra that they created this idea of immortality. And sex was the ticket to spiritual immortality and spiritual ascension. And in the old ways, they had temples dedicated to sex, where where the souls of man and woman can combine and make the ultimate magical babies, and they will become the divine Shakti, Shiva and Shakti. And sex has to do with rising the serpentine kundalini. The old ancient serpent would rise up, and humanity would be awakened, and people would understand what makes people feminine, what makes people masculine, what makes people good, and what makes people evil. And what makes people masculine is the light. The light energy in the body is masculine, and the darker approach, yang, is what makes people feminine. What makes people evil is greed. Now we know what greed is, and lust, and all of the 7 sins that supposedly religion told us not to know. And, of course, what makes people good is sovereignty, power within all, spirituality, stuff like that. Keeping good with society. What makes people evil, and now we know what is good and evil. But then there becomes a barrier. That becomes a barrier of restraint. And people keep moving forward through an evolutionary cycle. You see, originally, the serpent of man gave knowledge. And in the old Eastern temples, Hindu temples, we are knowing what's good and evil, but mostly to know what's good, to combat evil. That's what the Hindus think, how they think. The Egyptians, they used sexual alchemy. Okay, and the whole idea of alchemy is, if you know anything about alchemy, you'll start understanding that higher planes of existence is heaven, and the more mundane, physical, and essential way of life is hell. But this is contorted in a way so people can always, knowledge can be lost. The root chakra, which is the chakra of survivability, is hell. It's literally red. And the sacral chakra, which governs sex, is orange, so like the top flame. And yellow is the medium flame. But you also gotta know, in order to gain heaven, it's the throat chakra that's blue, which is the most hottest flame. And the throat chakra governs the ability to speak and express oneself. And what is ultimately heaven is honestly the 7th chakra of all-knowing, the 1,000-petaled lotus. But in order to gain that, the original ancient Egyptians used that alchemy to stimulate hell to activate the first chakra of heaven, which is the heart. Also, the heart represents, or the Ankh represents the heart in Egyptian culture. In order to, so it's literally raise hell, or raise the devil, in order to gain to heaven, was the original idea of the ancient Egyptians. You see, that was the sacredness of the human body. That is why a lot of people publish books on sacred tantras for sexual activity. That is why, because the human body is the most genuine and sacred thing that the human can cherish. All they can do is either cherish themselves or their lovers. And that is why all the pagan statues in ancient Greece were nude, showing off the genitalia and showing off the breasts in most occasions. And that is why Mother Mary has herself concealed. She doesn't want to show off her anatomy. And that is why all the saints and all the angels are clothed. Because there is nothing really sacred there. But again, people tend to worship abstinence as well. But there's also the sex cults of ancient Egypt, raising the Kundalini and their energy to become immortal and ascended beings. It just happens to be normal. And that is what's lacking in this world today, is the normalcy of being proud of the human body, the human anatomy, sexual organs. Why do you think they teach sex ed near the end of elementary school? It's just simple. It's just dirt logic here. But I'm gonna end this video.